NAB Show. I'm Kristen Rogers, joined by two incredible gentlemen here, Brad Winnett and Rick Soto. Thank you so much for being here today. Really excited to dig in optimizing media workflows, Pixelogic's cloud journey with AWS and TrackIt. Excited to dig into all things cloud production here in just a few. But first, would love to have you both introduce yourself. You're going to do it better than I am, learn a little bit about you, and we'll get going from there.
Rick Soto, Senior Vice President of IT and Security for Pixelogic Media.
I'm Brad Winnett. I am a partner and the president of TrackIt.
Amazing. Well, we're going to talk both Pixelogic and TrackIt. We're going to start on the Pixelogic side here first. To kick things off, I'd love if you could just start telling us a little bit more about Pixelogic, your role in powering global entertainment distribution.
Yeah, so I'm more on the technology, IT side, security, cybersecurity side. So I've been in the industry 20 plus years, Pixelogically focusing on the post-production side of the industry, everything from localization, dubbing, audio, creative, CEA, digital distribution, mastering. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and we know that you help filmmakers and content creators share their stories across different languages, different formats. What sets Pixelogic apart in the localization and that delivery space?
So we always stay up to date with a lot of our technology platforms. We're closely with the TrackIt team to help us out as well. And really an organization that strives to innovate and evolve.
Yeah, a lot of innovation. Excited to dig into that. So for both of you, kind of what industry shifts or challenges are you seeing across your customer base, especially with sudden spikes in demand for subtitling and transcoding, tighter release windows, and evolving accessibility needs right now?
That's a difficult one. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of been like a roller coaster right now. I mean, there's a lot of AI workflows that are happening, right? So there's a lot of workflow change, workflow shift. Again, the innovation behind that and the tool sets.
Yeah. How are you using those cloud-enabled workflows to help stay ahead of those challenges that are affecting those filmmakers and those content creators right now?
You want to address that one?
Well, so there's a lot, I think. So, and one question also I wanted to talk about, there's some real macro things happening in the industry as well. There is a lot of pressure from pricing, from timing. There's way more delivery platforms. There's way more places that content has to be delivered in different formats, different requirements locally. What's acceptable in Hungary might not be acceptable in Singapore, for example.
Yeah.
And the localization is really key to that, but getting squeezed very hard with these windows and for the people in the business to be profitable. So the key thing, and it's really accelerating, is how to do things faster, better, more efficiently, and at a cost where the industry can survive and grow. So it's really a big thing, and I think the cloud, and I'll touch on Gen AI and other things later, are really help enabling those things. So from a cloud standpoint, we built a great pipeline with Pixelogic that was basically driven by one of their large studio customers to say, I can't give you 3 months to do this project anymore. You have to do this in 2 months or 6 weeks. How do we make that happen? Really tough doing it the old way. But by putting in a cloud environment, now we're moving the functions and the assets right next to where the customer's data is. So we take out like big chunks of time to be able to do the processing that's necessary. So that studio can get things done faster. Pixelogic needs less time to get their job done. Yeah. Hopefully they're more profitable doing it in a shorter amount of time. So it helps everybody. And then from the Gen AI thing, there's a lot of things that aren't the sexy part of Gen AI. It's not creating characters or writing stories, but there's things just making the enterprise themselves much more optimally put together and automated in an easy way. So how do you automate things like maybe dubbing, or a cool one that is interesting is taking George Clooney and having him speak in Hungarian instead of English. Very cool. And these things can really help move the industry forward, and I think industry has to stay profitable and relevant.
Yeah, no question. And I think especially too when you talk Gen AI, especially at a conference like this at NAB, and we talk creatives. No, it's not to take away from the creatives. It's to give you more flexibility to be creative, create some more efficiencies on the back end, so you're not having to do as much work on your as much work on your own. You've made significant investments into the cloud, especially collaborating with AWS and with TrackIt. What business value has that unlocked for Pixelogic, both internally but also for the studio partners as well?
I think for us it's more globally. So yeah, I mean, it allows us to service pretty much our global customers. Makes it much easier for us, as like Brad was saying. I mean, before, a lot of distribution, transmission of content going globally. So being in the cloud and allow us to pretty much do everything on the fly. Yeah.
I mean, Pixelogic's really cool because of the breadth of things that they're able to do globally. Being a localization company, it's not 5 languages. Right? It's, 50 or 100 or something crazy. And in order to do that effectively and to do a good job of it, you have to have people locally. So you have to have people here and all over Europe and all over Asia. And the cloud really enables that by allowing jobs to happen in the best places where the best people are available to do that job.
You can create a lot more connectivity.
Correct.
For sure.
Yep.
Can you share an example?
The reach is further.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So in that vein, can you share an example of a recent cloud engagement that TrackIt and AWS has helped to deliver?
I think Studio in the Cloud would be a big one for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you could probably speak a little bit more to that.
So Studio in the Cloud is how you take all of your creative functionality and put it in the cloud, right? So normally things like editorial or verification of the content or other tooling that you have to get something from A to Z it has been done sometimes in the cloud, sometimes on-prem, sometimes both. You have to move content up and down, and it's just not efficient. So what we've done is we've taken sort of a full pipeline of how do I do my editorial? How do I take all these other steps? Hey, yeah, that is a good cut. The quality looks good. The time code lines up. All these other pieces of it, and built a true studio in the cloud. So the content never has to come back down. It stays up there. It stays in the client's own hands, and we're just working on things right there. So we have immediate access to the content. We immediately get the job done. The client immediately has the result at the end of it.
Yep.
And it sounds like it's really creating more operational efficiency from
it does.
Start to finish.
100%.
Yeah. What's next for Pixelogic's cloud journey? Are technologies like
Tell me.
I know.
Tell me. I don't know.
That's the question we all want to know, right?
No, that's the partnership we have with TrackIt and the AWS team, right? It's always working towards what is next, right? So a lot of stuff that's evolving right now, and all the innovation that's being driven behind it. Yeah, I mean, it's TBD.
We kind of touched on it, but where is AI and machine learning playing a role, especially when it comes to the automation side of things?
That's a difficult one. Very difficult.
Yeah,
we asked the hard-hitting questions here.
Yeah, we're definitely, I would say, still in the early stages, and we're looking at sort of low-hanging fruit today, and a lot of low-hanging fruit is the operational stuff, the stuff that isn't necessarily very sexy. But we're running a bunch of proof of concepts and working with Pixelogic, group different from Rick's, to look at some of those things. We've done a bunch of AI stuff around media asset management workflows. Hey, where's my content? What belongs with what? Help me understand in a sort of a natural language way. Hey, asset management system, I need this and that and that. Give it to me. Whereas before you might have an operator, somebody pouring through it, trying to dig in. Now we can have an AI do it for you. So these are things that don't immediately come to mind when you think about AI and media, but it's enabling.
Yeah.
It's enabling, but then you face the challenges behind it too, right? It's really the acceptance around it and the security, around managing those technologies as well.
Yeah. Maybe not as sexy, but it is the most essential, right?
Yeah,
Again,
correct.
Allowing the creatives to do what they do best because they're not having to work about the more back office stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see a lot of the tools for the creatives happen through the creative tool vendors themselves. You're going to see it through Adobe and Autodesk and these other folks that will just make that a part of the generation of content from a turn the crank kind of thing. where exactly should my edit be, or how should I crop a scene? These kind of things. Some of those, might take an operator 12 seconds to crop a picture in AI, so you could say, crop 2/3 and it's done.
Yeah.
So I think you can see a lot of it in there where it's sort of underneath the covers, and it just makes the life of the artist easier and faster.
Yeah. Want to change gears here for a second to the TrackIt side for just a second here, Brad. From a consulting standpoint, what were the challenges that TrackIt faced?
Rick.
We've known each other many years.
I don't believe a word of that for a second. Okay. What were the challenges, though, that you faced when archetyping a solution for Pixelogic, Rick aside?
So there's always challenges. I think it's really important when you go into it is to have the right team in place. And for us, that means not only just the right engineers, but it's having a client that's leaning in and involved and sees the opportunity. It means having AWS, which has a huge box of Legos that we can use to try and do things effectively. So you need the infrastructure provider to help a lot as well, and AWS is definitely essential in that. And then there's the training involved on our side and partially on the Pixelogic side to understand what pieces to put where. So there's always a journey of what are my real requirements that are going to make sense for my business, and how to translate those into the technologies that you need to put together to actually make it happen. So from a challenge standpoint, and also from like Rick's community, it's what's going to be okay for the studios. It's whatever we do, studios got to put their stamp on it, say it meets our security requirements.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
a big one. Actually, that might be the biggest one, the security part.
Yeah, security is huge. I mean, it's our number one. We're always trying to make sure that we are in compliance with our industry. So it's something that we are always collaborating with the studio, with the content owner, and our partners as well.
From that standpoint, how is TrackIt's approach to cloud infrastructure and resource automation different from traditional on-prem methods, and how did that help benefit Pixelogic as well?
Yeah, so I think for us, the way we differentiate ourselves is we're in the media business, but we're really a software development company. And there's a lot of people who know media, right? And there's a lot of people who know how to build software. But honestly, for a consulting company, there's very few who know both. You can easily go and find somebody who builds software, but when you start talking about transcoding and codecs and color correction, the eyes glaze over. It's like Chinese. So I think the core thing for us is that we understand the domain with sort of the software chops, and of course the knowledge with AWS. And I think from our standpoint, that's the way we approach something like with Rick. Okay, what realistically can be moved, what can be done in the cloud, what could be better, what could be maybe not better, and understand, and then fill in the gaps with the software parts. So for example, I think I mentioned it before, Pixelogic has tons of custom tools that they built. How do you actually take those and run them in the cloud? Well, that's kind of a software dev thing, understanding how the software works, being able to then take that, package it, and allow it to run in the cloud.
Yeah, what a perfect marriage between the consulting and the software side. As we start to wrap this up here, we'd love to know, with Pixelogic's fluctuating and changing demand in mind, how did TrackIt help ensure the scalability and cost efficiency for this as well?
A lot of the automation and the workflows that we put together. I mean, over time, our partnership has been key to a lot of the success of what we've done. So not only on the studio studio in the cloud, but some of the transmission tools that we've done, our archiving projects. So, yeah, TrackIt's been extremely important to the success of Pixelogic and what we've done.
Any final words, Brad?
Thank you very much, Rick. No, I really do appreciate it. It's been a fantastic partnership. We've known Rick for many, many years, and a lot of the people on his team. And the media business, it's definitely a club, right? And it helps having those kind of long-term relationships and partnerships, and it sort of ensures that we get over any sort of humps. And there's always going to be barriers and things that we have to get past, figure out how to do a solution. It's really important to have everybody bought in. I mentioned it before, but it's important to have Pixelogic, TrackIt, and AWS all bought in to get a successful solution.
Well, Brad, Rick, thank you so much for
You're
opening up
welcome.
the club here today for us to have this conversation. Really looking forward to seeing what TrackIt and Pixelogic does next in the innovation space.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.